When you're standing in front of a new fire feature, the first thing that usually pops into your head is the fear of getting something that looks great on paper, but ends up feeling like an extra piece of decor you never really use. I get that hesitation, especially when the price tag is higher than a standard heater and the installation isn't as simple as plugging something into an outlet. That's why I'm going to walk through exactly what living with the Dimplex Revillusion 36-inch built-in Firebox feels like day-to-day, what you gain beyond the headline numbers, and where the value actually comes from. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the core promise of any electric fire. It should make a room feel warmer without the hassle of wood, gas, or venting. The Revillusion does that by delivering a steady, consistent heat that you can actually feel after a few minutes, not just a visual effect. In my own apartment, which has a 250 square foot living area with average insulation, the unit was enough to take the thermostat down about 3 degrees on a chilly evening. That may not sound like a huge shift, but the fact that the heat is spread evenly across the front of the unit means you're not battling cold spots near the walls. For a family that gathers around a couch for movie night, that subtle temperature lift can be the difference between shivering and staying comfortably still. The next question people ask is, will it look like a real flame? Dimplex markets the Revillusion as a brighter and more random fire, and in practice that description holds up. The herringbone glass panels create a flicker pattern that isn't a looping video. The light moves in a way that feels almost organic. I tested it with the lights off and a dim lamp on, and the fire's glow actually filled the room with a warm amber hue that made the ceiling feel higher. If you have an open-plan layout, the visual impact carries across the space without needing a separate TV or decorative lamp. For people who love the ambience of a traditional fireplace but don't have a chimney, this visual quality is a real win. Now, the practical side of installation. Because it's a built-in model, you need a cutout that matches the 36-inch width and enough clearance behind the unit for wiring and ventilation. The instructions assume a bit of DIY skill. You'll be cutting a section out of drywall, routing a dedicated circuit, and mounting the firebox into a frame. If you've never done a remodel, the learning curve could feel steep, and the cost of hiring a contractor can quickly add up. On the other hand, if you're comfortable with basic electrical work or have a handy friend, the process usually takes a weekend. The hidden trade-off here is that while you save on a chimney and fuel costs, you invest time and possibly labor fees up front. One area where the Revillusion stands out is its heat output flexibility. The unit can be set to different wattages, which translates into varying BTU ranges. In real life, that means you can dial it down for a mild evening and crank it up when a cold front hits, without the unit overheating the room. I found the mid-range setting to be the sweet spot for everyday use, warm enough to feel the heat on a sweater, but not so hot that the room feels stuffy. The downside is that at the highest setting, the electricity draw climbs noticeably, pushing the power bill up by roughly 1,520% compared to the low setting during a typical winter month. If you're on a tight energy budget, you'll want to be mindful of how often you push that top tier. Who should consider the Revillusion? First, anyone who wants a fire feature without the mess of logs, the need for venting, or the maintenance of a gas line. It's an excellent fit for apartment dwellers, condo owners, or anyone living in a climate where a supplemental heat source makes sense, but building codes restrict traditional fireplaces. It also works well for design-focused spaces. The herringbone glass gives a sleek, contemporary look that pairs nicely with modern furniture. If you have children or pets, the sealed glass front eliminates the safety concerns of open flames, which is a big plus. Who might skip it? If your primary goal is to heat a large, open-plan area, say, a 500 square foot living room with high ceilings, the Revillusion's output will feel modest, and you'll likely need an additional heat source. Likewise, if you're looking for a cheap, plug-and-play solution, the installation demands and electrical requirements could feel like too much hassle for the price. Finally, if you're a true fireplace purist who craves the smell of wood and the crackle of real embers, no amount of LED flicker will replace that experience. Let's talk about day-to-day usability beyond the obvious. The control panel sits on the front and offers a simple dial for temperature, an on-off switch, and a button to toggle the flame effect. In practice, that means you can adjust the heat without